Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, bon dia. And I think a little bit of alegria is appropriate this morning. Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, the live stream, the podcast, and the Portugal Club, where we'll go. Maybe we'll get back to those Portuguese essentials ultimately as well. I'm trying to remember where I got to. This really has been the most extraordinary spanner in the works, has it not, of our lives. Kristen, Leonardo, Marta. And I'm told we've got Niels on the way, and bloody Orinoco or Oriana or someone like that. And they, as was observed before, the storms go alternatively, male and female. We nearly got to opening Portuguese bank accounts, or was it the Chave Móvel Digital? Those things that just seem so ordinary and prosaic, and the things that we used to concern ourselves with before the great T-bone, the climatic T-bone coming out of left field and causing utter havoc here in Portugal. A little bit more reporting on that. I think it's important to go to the situation report from Safe Communities Portugal last night, where we'll be talking to the Portugeeza, zooming out, taking a look at the bigger picture, albeit through the somewhat eccentric lens of the Portugeeza, and I will be here encouraging him as I do to do so and enjoy his enjoy. I use that word advisedly. Enjoy his worldview. So the Portuguese are joining us at around 20 past this morning, giving us a chance to complain about the timing of the show before. What is this? Is that a beautiful bit of passive aggression there, Capricorn Chris? Alarm clocks, fantastic inventions. I do use them. I don't always follow them, or you have to apply a little bit of discretion to the clock, don't you? Otherwise, your world is ruled by these machines that we invented to punish ourselves with. A military time. What you're going to tell me? National service is what's needed here next. Good morning to you, Chris. I noticed there's a picnic breaking out. Why not be one of those annoying people who listens to things on the train through their tinny little phone speaker, and we can send public announcements? Please, if you are eating on the train, may I remind you that this is a civil offence punishable by a long and protracted process that will not see any resolution or satisfaction for any of the parties concerned for at least 27 years. Thank you. If you want me to do that, Chris, if you want me to pretend to be the station, not the tannoy, although I'm happy to do that as well. If you want me to do the a guard announcement. Could the person in seat 27A please put your picnic away? This is an offence on His Majesty's public transport. Thank you. Happy to do that, Chris. Bon dia to you as well. Matty, good morning to you. Bon dia, alegria. Todos. Feliz segunda-feira. T-Duck, good morning to you. Bon dia, alegria. Gumpers. And yeah, Chris is struggling with what I am seeing on the train this morning. That doesn't differentiate it from many other mornings, Chris, to be fair. And have you got your I'd rather be in Portugal t-shirt on this morning underneath your, like a superhero underneath your suit? Do you dress up suited and booted for work, Chris? Tell me to mind my own business if you want. You go to work how you want, in a negligee if you like, but not naked, as Math suggested he might be doing. He's going to put some clothes on before he does a blue sky dance up there in the Peneda de Gerês. That'll get the birds singing. I like in your YouTube comic strip style YouTube icon then. Good to see you. Math Smith, you joined us over at the Portugal Club as well. Nice to see you here. Yeah. Chris is struggling with what I'm seeing on the train this morning. A breakfast picnic in the first class carriage that is not first class, as in what? They've undermined themselves with their appalling and crass behavior. My issue is eating with the amount of germs around. Baffling, strange. Come on, Chris. Pasteur even challenged his own thinking on his deathbed, apparently. And goodness only knows what Pasteur passed away with and how and why. But he said it's not the germs, I think. Something along those lines anyway. Fact check. I see light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, and it's not a train, I think. Partial sun today and no rain forecast until 1800. That's why I say a little bit of alegria is in order. That was the bay behind me yesterday, looking distinctly muddy and grey and misty and foggy. However, a change in the air. Nice to see you, Sarah, from Spartan FX. Nice to be at Palmera yesterday and buy some of Margarita's lovely fresh baked cakes, which were enjoyed by the family here. Banoffee, lime and chia seed, orange cake, and something else, something with olive oil. I can't remember, but they were all delicious and very different, actually, but and very delicious. And the tapping on the skylight. I'm up in the attic now, the new studio, the new GMP HQ, broadcasting to the world from the attic of a suburban house in San Martino de Porto. Tapping on the window, it's obviously rain. No, it was the birds, the little sparrows or whatever they are bouncing about on the roof. Is the tippy tapping I could hear this morning. Not rain, but the birds singing the sun back. Oh, beautiful. We need it. We need it for the cleanup and the recovery operation here in Portugal. People have been so badly affected anyway, and then rain has stopped the full force of the clear up. We'll find out more about that in just a moment after we've said hello to you all. We'll be going out for a nice walk after GMP. Excellent. What a marvelous timetable that is. Bom dia todos. We have an inch of blue sky this morning in Suaujo, Peneda Gerês National Park. Is that where you live, Matthew? Lucky man. Sounds amazing. I am going outside to do a blue sky dance. Better put some clothes on. No, don't worry about that. People have got other concerns. They're not going to be worried about that, Matt. Hola, bon dia, Malta. But yes, don't call me if you do. If you do get locked up. There's not much I can do from this distance. 913-590-303. Happy to support you at long distance on WhatsApp. No pictures though, right? A nice bright start to the day. Apartment hunting for my daughter is on the agenda today. How lovely. Have we got any colleagues that can help up there? Where are we talking about Lisboa? Where's she off to? I don't know if you want some help. Let us know after the show. 913-590-303. Bom dia e alegria todos. Thank you for your contributions over at the Portugal Club. Some Bygrave bonuses there. We haven't spoken about those for a little while. But have you popped something new up this morning? Thank you, Kate. Much appreciated. A nice little thread of yeah, that was a painful one yesterday. The golf-related Star Trek meme. Thank you very much for that. I winced as I read that to myself yesterday. Thank you for those, Kate. Alarm clocks, fantastic inventions. This is Portugal. Yeah, relax, Chris. Time is fluid. And yeah, this is the internet. Bom dia, Carl. Muffins, Suaujo. Am I saying that right? Suaujo. Morning mail as well. Bom dia. Não chuva. It's like, what? Wait, no rain. You're not trying to bring it on in any way. I prefer a dog waking me up before the outdoor time, which is me just opening the front door, basically. But then I'm up and awake anyway. A furry, who doesn't like a furry alarm clock first thing in the morning? Ooh, missus. Bon dia, Gary. Hola, bon dia, borada. Yay, the sun is shining in Tamar as well. How lovely to hear these reports of sunshine. This is what we came here for. Don't mind a little bit of rain every now and then, but come on. Not that much. Chris, you need a good egg salad sandwich on the show. Yes. Can we give Chris some serving suggestions for things he might push back with? I think an egg mayonnaise sandwich is a very good call. My mother made me that as a stop me if I've told you this before, which I probably have. I went for a school trip and my mum made me, and what was she thinking? And in those days, egg mayonnaise meant salad cream, didn't it? We didn't know what mayonnaise was. That's just what posh French people had who all smoked while they were eating with berets on. No, we had salad cream, was good enough for us in those days, and a bit of cress on top. So I opened up my egg sandwiches, but not only that, she'd made me a shandy because we lived in a pub at the time. She made me a shandy that she'd put in a Tupperware. And sadly, that exploded on opening because it had been agitated on the train in which all the children were in. So the smell of beer and egg sandwiches feels like it was like a Labour Party day out. It was amazing, but I wasn't very popular, suffice to say. In all honesty, though, the best trains I've been on so far, Bullet in Japan, has everyone eating bento boxes in all classes. Quite right, too. Here's your bento box, whether you like it or not. Be wary today. This is our area's prophet of doom, brief lull of sunshine. for me to resurface the road. But the better weather doesn't really start until Saturday. I think you're right, actually. We do have Niels and Oriana, is it, lurking, ready to chuck a little bit of rain over us. But it is the general consensus is that the weather is improving for the second half of the month, I think, here. Noticeably, numbers are back down again. Now we're not just solidly reporting on gloom and doom. People aren't interested anymore. Good morning to you, wherever you are. I think we had a bit of an updraft, as we always do when there's a disaster. Funny old world, isn't it? But here we are, snuggling up, huddling up together. The GMP hardcore in anticipation of a chat with the Portugeeza this morning as well. Let's see how he's responding to the presidential result. The weather, I know he's very sensitive, is the Portuguese, although he seems brash and gruff, as sometimes, certain types of people do. He's got a heart of gold, and he's a little softy underneath that. I hate the cold air and inevitable need for a wee that hits you on these winter mornings. Thank you. Too much information. Sorry for the caps. Yeah, you should be shouting that across the internet. Be happy. You can still... Yeah, you ought to be happy. You can still take a wee. Some of us can't. Some of us just stand there. Porada, Peda, good morning to you. What's happening tonight at Expats Portugal, Peda? Can you let me know? Okay, Suajo, very good. Thank you for that. We do like a little bit of phoneticism, not fanaticism. We do like a bit of phoneticism first thing in the morning. We are good, thank you. Property hunting is one of my wife's favorite pastimes. Excellent. Maybe she should be helping us. And maybe a show on constructive criticism for estate agents. Oh no, we haven't got time for all of that, for that 20-part series, for all parties concerned. Well, yeah, I think that would be a great episode. Maybe she can join us on a Monday night for the soon returning. It seemed a bit off to be crowing about beautiful properties here in Portugal for the perusal of our international market while people are suffering so much here in this country. That will return with Ben Austin on a Monday evening. Let's go to that situation report then from Safe Communities Portugal, see what's going on. Portugal mainland, adverse weather impacts. Situation report from 6 o'clock yesterday evening, Wednesday the 11th. And I'm going to take a little bit of a sip of tea. You can scan that for yourself for the moment. Yes, thank you. To anyone who ever says to me when they go to Costco or something like that, do you want some more tea bags? I'm all right for the moment. Thank you very much. We're talking about sit-down weeing as well when you get to a certain age. Stop it. Fake it till you make it. Overall, the national... And stop screaming out when you get up out of a chair, okay? That's one of those really bad things that people do when they're hypnotizing themselves into getting old and creaky. Especially men, I think. Getting up out of a chair and going, ooh, ah, my back. Stop it. Right. Where were we? Safe Communities Portugal. Overall, the National Commander of Civil Protection, that will be Senor Silvestre, Mario Silvestre. The Commander of Civil Protection, National Commander no less, said today that the most worrying situation is in the Coimbra area due to the significant risk of a breach in one of the Mondego riverbanks. Now, that did burst, did it not? One of the dikes there. And warned of continued flooding and landslides. The most worrying situation at the moment is on the Mondego River due to significant risk of breach in one of the dikes. Yeah, I believe that gave way yesterday. I saw that reported on Portuguese TV last night. Or certainly some inundation and a small breach, I think. The thing that shocked me most yesterday on Portuguese TV news coverage of this situation was a 7-story building. And the shoring behind it, the kind of underpinning had fallen away, exposing this 7-story, a terrace of what looked like 7-story buildings. Hold on a minute. A little bit of a cough there as well that I saved you from. I hope there are 30 kilometers of riverbanks from the Coimbra area to Figueira de Foz, said Mario Silvestre. The NAEPC commander explained that the people living in that area were previously warned. I think it was about 3,000 people, wasn't it, that were under some sort of notice to possibly evacuate. And they're already set up and prepared to receive these people in reception areas. Very good. Good planning, good work there. the emergency services of Portugal, especially in that area around the Mondego. Heavy rain puts all the waterways at risk of flooding. There are watercourses that haven't flowed with this volume in 20 years. Extra caution is needed. I won't read every single part of this, but the risk remained particularly high around the Mondego, of course, the Tagus, Soraya, Vuga, Agada, and Sado rivers. The alert remains in place for the Minho 2, Cura, Lima, Cavado, the Ave, Douro, Tamega, Susa, Lish, Naboa, and Guadiana rivers. So Naboa, that's the Tamar River, is it not? The commander drew attention to rivers with very fast flow rates. Stay away, basically, meaning that lacking nearby agricultural fields, they reach homes very easily. Okay, well, extra caution was also advised in wooded areas and zones prone to landslides due to water infiltration into the soil. Yeah, the soil remains absolutely sodden, does it not? Sadly, another death, a 70-year-old man who fell on January the 28th while repairing the roof of a relative's house in the municipality of Pombal, died on Tuesday, sadly, in a hospital in Coimbra. The rain impacts, then there are places in the country that are dealing with a monumental volume of rain. Yeah, I mean, when you hear some of the statistics of rain, of rain that's fallen in a very short time, which we would normally expect to have in a whole year, perhaps, or certainly a month thereof. So Santarém, what's this? Yeah, here's a stat of that kind: a monumental volume of rain in each square meter by 1 meter. What? A meter by meter, about 8 5-liter bottles of water fell. That's not the most understandable statistic, but you get the idea. Lots of rain has fallen, and in an intense and monumental volume. Santarém, Leiria, Coimbra, Viseu, Aveiro, Porto, Villarreal, Braga, and Viana do Castelo. These are the 9 districts under orange alert for precipitation until 6 o'clock last night because of the atmospheric river that we've heard about as well, describing the situation. Weather good news, ? Finally, Saturday is a good day. It will be sunny, as we've already discussed here this morning, anticipates the meteorologist. There will be an improvement over the weekend, that's for sure. Next week, it may still rain, but nothing comparable to the amounts of precipitation seen in recent weeks. So hopefully, finally, the worst of this is behind us. It feels like it, doesn't it? It does feel like it. The Coimbra preventive evacuations remain in place. Flooding, of course, still can be seen around Portugal. Power outages, still a total of 39,000 Iredes customers were still without electricity in the mainland yesterday. Those were the numbers yesterday. Extraordinary. According to Iredes, in the areas most affected by Storm Kristin, which occurred 15 days ago now, approximately 30,000 customers were still without power today in a statement. 30,000 people without power. On Tuesday, in its previous report, Iredes indicated that by 4 p.m. there were 46,000 customers without power across the mainland. So they are moving in the right direction, but 15 days later, still people without power. A1 experienced a closure between Coimbra North and Coimbra South due to a burst river bank. More than half of the municipality of Vila de Rei continues to experience communication failures, so that's still the case for some people. And a number of landslides. Porto Brandão, Dom Pedro, the 5th municipal market in Coimbra, has been closed to the public due to the instability. Is that the main market there? My goodness, due to instability in the slope of the Santo Agostinho enclosure. When you look at it, it would be a town that at any time would be prone to subsidence. And with the way the water, rain, and storms have been working their unholy effect on the land, that's not entirely surprising. But when you look at the structure of Coimbra, it's extraordinary. And you see there, Dom Pedro, the 5th municipal market, has been closed to the public. Landslide 3, Lisbon Cascais on the A5, landslide affecting traffic on the A5 motorway. 23 people evacuated from their homes on Tuesday as a precaution. I think there were more last night. I saw from some idosos. Is that the idosos for the name for old people? Some old folks' homes were evacuated as well. Building collapses, an abandoned house collapsed on top of Cartajo Municipal Fire Department. No one was injured, thankfully, right there. And Alcácer do Sol, the low-lying areas of Alcácer do Sol flooded again. Oh dear, yesterday, and you can see that extraordinary picture there of the armed forces who we spoke about at some length, helping out over there. Right. If there's anything you can report from your part of the world, we are delighted to hear from you. And of course, still, if there's any help required for anybody, let us know. Yes, the dam did break and the A1 collapsed too. Bon dia from Sarah, who's just joined us as well, as has the Portugeeza. So let's bring him onto the stage with a smattering of applause, no less than he deserves, as he treads the streets of central Portugal. Hola, bon dia.
Bon dia, bon dia. Listen, I don't know what anyone's been talking about because I've got blue sky and sunshine and no clouds. So people keep telling me about this storm, but I just don't know what they're talking about.
And how far into the 300 days do you think you are by your rough calculation?
Oh, 300 days of sunshine. I can't anymore. I'm done. I'm done. Listen, I'm just out walking foot. I'm right near my gate, so I just got to put foot away. Listen, subsidence or subsidence?
Subsidence, I'm going to go with.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm just an English teacher, but that doesn't mean I'm infallible. So it's not a word.
Subsidence sounds like the American way, and we shouldn't tolerate that sort of thing.
It could be. It's not a word we say a lot, is it? But in the recent, the last couple of weeks, we've been saying a lot. It's very interesting for me because I still have a lot of students in Hong Kong, and I've been speaking to them and showing them they've been seeing vision of the landslides, and they wonder how that's happening. And I don't know if any of the watchers, listeners, whatever you want to call them, the beautiful people who are with us, the beautiful people, the gumpers, have been to Hong Kong. But when the Portuguese gang, there's a little bit of crossover, I'm sure. But in Hong Kong, you notice that all the slopes are concreted. They've actually, over the years, concreted most of the slopes that are a danger. And then also they're very good at the drainage. So I've noticed that a lot of the road subsidence, look at that, subsidence.
Apparently you've got it right. Subsidence.
Am I really?
I'm going to continue. Tony said it right, but then I'm from the Americas. You see?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, in my lessons, I often have this. A lot of my Hong Kong students have got a variety of English teachers. Some of them are from the Americas and some are from England. And quite often they actually mix it. And I always try and tell them, look, it's a good habit to learn both British English and American English, because British English is, of course, the correct way, but American English is a little bit more dominant, you know what I mean? So it's a good idea to learn both, isn't it? It's a good idea to learn both, I think. And then kind of stick with one, especially in writing. I think you should kind of stick with one or the other, shouldn't you? But
yes. Well, there all sorts of questions come to mind with this. I mean, presumably, if they are hoping for a corporate job in America, which they might be,
right?
They don't want to stick out. They don't want to be saying aluminium, for example, do they, in an American workplace? Because they will be immediately
especially I'm just trying to think of it again. It's not a word that you say every day, is it? But yeah, I've noticed a lot with the drainage. I mean, I'm no engineer, but I've seen even in previous years roads collapse in Portugal.
Hold on a minute. Stop. Is this the new thing? Is this how you're starting sentences now? It used to be I'm no immunologist. And then it's I'm no climatologist. Is it now I'm no engineer, but here we go.
Hey, the conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theorists are already out, though, aren't they? No, but I've seen how it works. The only reason I know about this, you got to watch me go off on a real tangent here. There was a disaster in Australia when I was young called the Thread Boat disaster, and they spent a lot of time on the news. The Thread Boat disaster, and it was some chalets that were on the side of the mountain in the very famous skiing area in Australia, and they collapsed because the rain built up the hill behind them, and they spoke about how the soil gets more and more waterlogged until it eventually gives way. And that's exactly how a landslide happens. Yeah. And in Portugal, I see that a lot, where houses are built on the edge of hills or and you can see there's no drainage. So what happens when there's too much rain? It gets waterlogged, and it causes pressure, and then eventually it gives way. And in the last few days, we've seen a lot of that, haven't we, with roads being swept away. And that's what it's from. It's from the pressure of just the soil becomes saturated, and then it can't hold any more water, and then something has to give. So the solution to that is drainage. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of engineers when they've been designing these places, haven't designed them with this much rain in mind. And I don't know how well, why would you? I don't know how anyone else felt, but what was particularly interesting to me was I feel like, because something that's been really horrible for me, as everybody knows, I love to get outside and walk every day. But even on the rainiest days, there's been gaps, you know what I mean? There's been gaps, haven't there? Like where you've had an hour here or there. And even when I've been going out in the morning and getting wet, it hasn't been raining really heavily. But the odd thing has been the last 2 days for me have been the worst in terms of rain, because it felt like it just rained non-stop and really, really heavily for 48 hours. Like just non-stop. Yesterday and the day before, so it was that Tuesday and Wednesday, it just seemed like it rained non-stop. And I literally didn't go out for 2 days, which is really, really,
yes,
it really was awful. Really, really was awful. And, you know, it's funny, we were speaking in the DMs the other day, and because I knew that your area had been hit sort of worse than ours, and you were offline for a while and all that. And you were saying, well, you know, it could be worse. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Depending on what kind of person you are, it is the way you approach these. It could always be worse. But I mean, I've been like, I've had chilblains. You know what they are? On my hands, I've had chilblains. I'm in Portugal.
Is that the corned beef texture, or not texture? The corned beef appearance, where you lose
on my fingers.
And it goes itchy.
Yeah. And some of them even open. The sores even open on a few of my fingers. And, you know, I've been saying, this is amazing. I mean, I've lived in Denmark and Sweden. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I've worked at 3 Winter Olympics. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, I've never had chillblains. And then I come to bloody Portugal and I get chillblains. Although I know
that makes sense. That makes sense to me. We have a particular kind of climate, the traditional climate, for most of the year, around which all of life is built, and anything outside of that comes as a challenge, and can even produce medical conditions the likes of which you're struggling with. It's the same in the UK, isn't it? The UK is not built for snow, so every time you get to experience the shortcomings of a country that's not built for snow as much as people will enjoy the first 2 hours of it.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, aren't you? And I think this is a point I've tried to say to people, which is because I've done a few videos where I'm moaning about it, and I think what people have got to understand is I get that someone's got it worse. I mean, there's a guy with there's a blind guy with no legs somewhere or something. You know what I mean? You could do that all day long, couldn't you? Oh, you know, how low do you want to set the bar for misery?
No, but I wasn't being like that. That's the problem. With dry text, isn't it? I don't mind.
Yeah, but no. I also do it. But what I'm saying is, I got people in the my what do you call it? My reply guys. You know what I mean? My reply guys. Yeah. And they'd be like, it's not just Portugal. These storms are happening in England, for example. I'm saying, in England, I had underfloor heating, a heated towel rail, and the cafes had heaters.
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
True. That's also true.
Yeah. Yes. Do you know what I mean? So this kind of no escape. And then the other thing is, what I'm trying to say to people is like, in one go, this is how I felt, right? In one go, I feel like everything was taken from me because my favorite activities that I used to de-stress, right? Motorcycling, walking dogs, exercising outside. And then the only other thing that I've got indoors is playing guitar, and I had bloody chilblains on my hand. I couldn't pick up the guitar. So it's like, bloody...
I trust you've written a really good blues album. Nonetheless, you've got perfect conditions for some, creating some Radiohead or blues vibes, I think, indoors now at the moment.
It's annoying, isn't it? It should seem like the perfect time to create, but I had a good couple of weeks where I really did. I didn't even really do any uploads. I was just like, I'm done. I'm done.
I was sensing your cries for help, and you know, a few "Are you okay, hun?" type messages, and I don't. What can we do for you when you get into that sort of situation? Leave you alone.
Yeah, I'm all right. You know, I'm all right.
See, there you go. You're doing it again. I'm all right. I'm fine. What are we talking about?
Yeah. No, I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine. Honestly, the time goes. A couple of weeks, I'll be moaning about the heat. But yeah, I have to admit, it's kind of like I actually said last year, because I felt this. I'm interested to know if anyone else feels like this. This was my 6th winter in Portugal, and 6 winters is obviously not enough of a sample to really say there's a trend, but I do feel like they've been progressively getting worse, to be honest, because even though this was by far the worst one, the last couple have been pretty miserable, to be honest. I mean, we lost our garden wall, I think, in the last one. We've had this isn't the first time our land's been underwater, like completely underwater. Our wells are like overflowed, and all the land is completely covered. It's not the first time. So I feel like they've been getting progressively worse, at least in the last 6 years. Now, I know that's not, good enough sample. And in fact, someone told me that 2019 was worse than this. So,
it may be, and I do want to. Oh, there's a great shadow of you holding your phone behind you. You've broken the magic of broadcasting or the magic of show business. There, that was really interesting to see how you do this, like behind the scenes. There you go. But I'm not asking you to not have a shadow. I mean, we're in the age of full disclosure, vulnerability, and authenticity. We all know you've got a shadow, and everyone else has as well. Totally. So. A few things to pick up on, as is usually the case. You've gone off sprinting off into this conversation. It's left me wondering about a number of things already. One of which I was going to say, because we've got in our chat here the continuing conversation about how to say certain words. Aluminium actually being quite a good example, and I thought Hans Christian Andersen had discovered aluminium. It's Hans Christian Ørsted who discovered aluminium, and I'll say it again, aluminium. The spelling is supposed to be the same as other elements like sodium, magnesium, calcium, titanium, and hence aluminium. Although I do like it when I hear Americans saying aluminum. It just sounds like Roscoe P. Coltrane saying, "Vehicle, you Duke boys, we're gonna get you in your vehicle." But yeah.
Do you know in Hong Kong how much time I used to spend training children not to say police? Oh, really? God, it just grinds my gears. The police. Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it? Could be the rap as well. The police. I'm going, you don't pronounce it. It's police. Like, please. Please.
And then you teach them how to say constable after that, do you?
Yeah. I pronounce the first part very, you got to make sure you do it like the champ say it.
Like you mean.
Good morning, good morning, constable.
No, right, steady on. The measure, which might lead us into another area of our conversation this morning, would have been the Queen's English. Now, that presumably is now the King's English. And would we defer and refer to the royal family these days as a benchmark for all that is good and holy? It would appear not so much.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you ever read the book called Watching the English?
By David Icke?
What's her name? No. Oh my God, no. She's an anthropologist. Watching the English, but she wrote a whole book about the different Englishes. And there's little things in English. It's not just pronunciation. It's kind of like, are you at the park or in the park? Where we're at the choice of at or in as a class indicator and things like that. I mean, accent is because a lot of people take on affected accents, don't they? I always joke about my mum. My mum was northern, and she escape from my grandfather, who she thought was an authoritarian. He probably was, to be fair, but she went down to London and kind of adopted an affected BBC accent. You know what I mean? But I always joked it would be quite funny. It'd be quite funny to listen to her speaking in a kind of a middle class sort of posh accent, talking about coffee tables and settees. You know what I mean? And because. Well, of course, a settee is a class indicator in England, isn't it? Or it could be a north-south divide at the same time, which is also further complicates things.
And yes, you know whether you're having lunch or dinner as well. Anyway, do you know what? I think we're just skirting around the big issues here this morning, and we nearly got
bigger
there.
Than class indicators in English.
Well, I know that's a massive topic that could start a war and so on, but it does feel like we're posturing somewhat around the big issue, which we didn't touch on when it came to talking about the weather. And I was going to ask you, if you're still there, you've frozen up and you may have disappeared. And we're just getting to the juicy bit now as well. Tony has frozen up. I was going to ask him about geoengineering and climate manipulation, and whether that he imagined there was or thought that there was any truth in that. And I've been robbed of my opportunity to do so. Let's see. I do like that screenshot that he's left us with there, with a sort of he looks like a French philosopher ready to answer a big question. It was Kate Fox, I think, who wrote Watching the English, so you know. In the US and Canada, aluminum stuck largely due to Noah Webster's influential 1828 dictionary. Thank you for this, which favored the shorter spelling and often dropped ium endings for simplicity in American English. That's the interesting thing to me with this topic is vehicle doesn't sound like a simplification. It sounds like you've made it more complicated saying vehicle rather than vehicle. Although I have never heard anyone in the US say police, that's an exaggeration. Police. Okay, I just checked the American Chemical Society and their periodic. You did? Their periodic table spells it aluminium, but so it's just said aluminum then. The chemtrails got Tony. No, please God, no. I think you stand a chance of learning English. If we have a former member of the royal family, we can send you to help you with that. No sweat. No, come on, Pete. Right. I consider aluminum or aluminium to be American slang. You see, there are certain topics, aren't there? You just have to the merest mention gets it all going in the chat of a morning. Tony Chill blames various veins, gout, and ear and nose hair the joy of getting. Stop it, Peter. Old age never comes alone. Good morning to you, João Ernesto, by the way. And yes, drainage. We were talking all of the many things that he was able to talk about in such a short space of time. Drainage was one of them. And I'm not a drainage engineer, but however, it would appear that T-Duck is a professional, a drainage engineering expert. It perhaps can be said. Drainage engineering in Portugal is terrible. I point things out all the time. Yeah, and I think it is about what you're designing for, what you're building for. Generally speaking, is it not? I think the you're designing for the mean or median conditions, and certainly the conditions that we've experienced in the last 15 days have not been the normal ones around which most civil engineers and other professionals who create housing and conurbations would have been trained. Smash that like button. Thank you very much, T-Duck. We're still talking about this. I think most Americans do spell it aluminium. However, scientifically, it is incorrect, even according to their own scientists. Oh my goodness, right. I think he's back. Just asking you if you thought this was, you're coming straight back in to the debate.
Who, what happened? Was that me or you on the internet connection? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
You froze, and then it was suggested that the chemtrails got you. Now, this we have touched on this before, haven't we? About the fact, what's causing this weather that we've had. What's been happening in your world of conversation? I know you go to some extreme positions, not you personally, but in the conversation, you're not afraid to go there, as it were. What's been coming up in the conversations you've had about the cause of the weather?
Well, I have to say one thing that has struck me about living in Portugal, at least in central Portugal, is many people are very, very open to I try to be a bit careful with conspiracy theories because I don't know. There kind of has to be a balance, doesn't there? Because the reality is a lot of what was conspiracy yesterday is fact today.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But you know, sometimes I find it drains me, to be honest. If I'm sat with somebody who's just non-stop, you know, Jews are controlling the world. You know, Bill Gates wants us all eating bugs. Yeah, you know what I mean. After a while, it kind of drains my energy, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, a lot of people are very, very confidently. I mean, I was in Lidl the other day, funnily enough, and someone tapped me on the shoulder, a Dutch guy. And he said, "Hey, Portugeeza, I'm one of your subscribers." And I said, "Oh, well, hi, how you doing?" He goes, "Oh, this weather, you know, it's all man-made, don't you?" Blah, 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 blah. You know, just rolled straight into it.
Yes.
So,
Yes. So, what was your response? What was your response, if I may pry?
I think I just didn't really say anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
I have had a conversation lately. There's someone I've been kind of seeing quite a lot of recently, and she is almost non-stop with the conspiracy stuff. And I said to her the other day, look, you know, what can you do about this? You know, what? Because I feel like you're just making yourself unhappy. You know what I mean?
Yes. We all know somebody like that. We all know somebody like that, don't we? And many of us have been there ourselves. So I think this is a useful conversation, actually. What was her response? What was her response to that?
Well, she was kind of upset. She said, "Oh, I think you're saying you don't like talking to me." And I said, "Listen, you don't know me that well, but anyone who knows me will tell you that if I don't like talking to you, you'll probably just never see me again." So the fact that, you know, I still WhatsApp you and say, do you want a coffee or whatever? I'm not, you know, I'm not that guy. I'm not that nicer guy.
Yes,
you know,
we know that.
But yeah, it does wear me down a little bit. You know, I kind of ask why would people do this? I can't think of a good reason. You know, I want there to be more than it's just happening because there's bad actors. For what purpose? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And then also, you know, these bad people presumably have to live here as well, as do their families and loved ones. I don't.
Yes.
You know, I want more than just everything bad in the world is being caused by, you know.
Well, people who want to control and manipulate and dominate.
The Trump card. I actually said this to her the other day. You know, I said to her, she's probably watching. I'll get in trouble for this, but she's not there. Just so you know, if you aren't watching, I have done this to many people.
Whoever they are, anonymized now.
I just usually ask them, well, what do you think? Do you think the Freemasons have something to do with this? And they'll quite.
Are you making a bit of a joke?
Freemasons, and I'll say, do you know any Freemasons? Yeah. Do you know any Freemasons? You know what I mean? Oh, no, I don't know any Freemasons. I go, yeah, you do. You know one. Who? What, you say one of my friends is a Freemason, and then I wait for the penny to drop. You know what I mean? And then they'll go, oh yeah, but you're not a high up one. I'm literally a master mason. Literally. Do you know what I mean? It's like we are not controlling the fucking weather. Sorry, I just dropped the F-bomb, didn't I?
Yes. Do you mind?
Yeah.
I don't know which bit to be offended by most out of all that you've just said. That's the effect you have. Mel says, this is interesting. We just need to stop being extreme and using the term conspiracy.
Yes.
And start having rational. Well, that's what I'm trying to do this morning, Mel. And I hope that's appreciated in some way. I think it's really important to get away from the downright dismissal and using the term as a slur to stop conversation, and also being very well aware of what you said, Tony, about how if you talk about it all the time and that's your lens for seeing the world, that's very injurious and harmful to ourselves to be like that. So something in the middle, as ever, would appear to be quite useful. And another question I have for you and everybody is, it looks like we are in some kind of age of disclosure regarding what some people have feared and have made their lives around is now, and I heard it put brilliantly last night by a guy called Charles Eisenstein, He talked about how when he was talking to people about certain things that are being sort of massively disclosed in the world at the moment, when he talked about that first 10 years ago, it was like, you know, nobody could take it on. Well, very few people could possibly be open to it. Now it's being exposed to you whether you like it or not. And the wonderful metaphor that he gave for that was how the immune system, it was like the intellectual immune system has collapsed. So where before people's intellectual antibodies were just like, okay, kill that off now. I'm not. I can't countenance that idea. I can't talk about that. You're an idiot. You're a conspiracy theorist. Just stop talking. That has shifted, hasn't it? That intellectual.
Well, it's external. It's external. The problem is it's external now. So before that was something that happened internally, and but now, of course, it's you know, staccato signals of constant information. I was just listening to Paul Simon this morning, Boy in the Bubble, you know, staccato signals of constant information. And that's the problem now is the access to information. So I suspect, like, for example, you remember the conspiracy theory that the world is run by a cabal of pedophiles. And then now it seems like, okay, that one seems to actually be true. But I suspect. You can't just, I mean, that's the thing here. That's part of this. What's going on is you've just said that en passant in conversation, as though. Well, the reason is because I suspect that's always been true. You know, it's like you know, you remember when Trump Trump got unearthed with the grab him by the thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, powerful men in women abuse, shocker. Do you know what I mean? Not to try and take you know what do you call it? Diminish the you know how disgusting it was what he said, but what I'm saying is I don't think we should be shocked by that. I think what happens now is we just have we're force fed. You know, if you go look on the internet right now, you're just going to see loads of people talking about the Epstein files, for example. But what I'm saying is it really a surprise? Because I mean, you know, when we were young, it was you know, the Catholic Church and the Scouts, and you know, it's always been a thing that. So there's a chicken and egg thing, right? There's a chicken and egg thing. Is it that there's a secret cabal of pedophiles running the world, which is a kind of a shorthand, or is it that pedophiles who are able to get themselves into positions of power so that they can have access to children? Do you know what I mean? Or access to women. Yeah, well, the outcomes the outcomes the same, but what I think is more dangerous is imagining this kind of room of people wearing pointy hats doing this in a collaborative way. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but
that's what people think you do. In one of those memes of like what I think I do as a Mason and what other people think I do. That's exactly what the picture that comes up, isn't it? The pointy hat thing.
Well, funnily enough, I've said to people where they say, "Oh, but isn't it true that Freemasons control the world?" And I've said again, it's a chicken and egg thing with Freemasons. It tends to attract people who have power, but I can tell you right now, it also tends to attract teachers. It also tends to attract entrepreneurs, creative types, engineers, this kind of people. But yeah, it does also attract people who, you know, have power. So it might seem like, but trust me, there's no one's in meetings talking about how they're going to sway world politics or something. No, I mean, barely able to string a meeting together. You know, most of them are very old people as well. I'm a young Freemason. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's not what people think. So I think what I mean is it's a chicken and egg thing. It's a chicken and egg thing. So.
Yes. Well, it was interesting. You know, that I mean, it's interesting how things can be taken out of context, and that's why I think, you know, I agree completely with Mel. We do need to have rational conversation and calm conversation about these things, and that would appear to be a problem at the moment. Is I understand your view of like, well, shock horror. This has always been the way. But it's like the problem at the moment is it's not shock horror, is it? It's like the world is. I saw a very sensitive, thoughtful, young kind of millennial YouTuber And his problem is that, you will go to work tomorrow, you'll go to school tomorrow, and everything will be just the same. We've got, on the one hand, this massive level of exposure, revelation, disclosure of things that we would rather not were happening in the world, obviously.
Yeah.
And it appears that the power and influence and effect of those people, or that influence, is great, and perhaps greater than we ever thought or wanted it to be, and nothing is really changing. That's what's missing, perhaps. That's what's of great interest to me, is what can be done, what we can do.
Well, that's the question. That's the important question.
Yeah, if we find it repulsive, what are we doing about it?
Well, that's the thing. And what a lot of people are doing about it is just talking to each other about it in a bubble, getting themselves wound up and upset, separating themselves from people who maybe don't like thinking about it. Or it's like I said, where I refuse to call people who had vaccines sheeple. I refuse. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I mean, fair enough. If you say to me, "Oh, look, I've had 8 vaccines or something," I'm going to start to doubt your sanity. But I'm not playing this game where people who have different views being. I think that's dangerous as well, because most people aren't doing anything about it, Carl, except winding themselves up. That's it. And I go back to the serenity prayer. I know that's going to sound very old-fashioned and a bit weird, but I mean, if you're not going to, well, it's God. I'll probably muddle up now. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change.
To accept
the courage.
Yes.
To accept what I cannot change. To something like work to change the things that I can. The strength to work to change things that I can. The courage to know the difference. Right. The courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Right. The wisdom to know the difference. And I think the thing is, you can live a good life knowing that there's evil in the world, and you could start by what can you do? What can you do on a daily basis to combat evil? Because you probably can't stop Bill Gates if you're so minded to think that he's part of the evil cabal or whatever, right?
Yes.
What can you do? I'm pretty sure everybody can do some good things every day, right? You know what I mean? And that could be as small as holding a door open for someone. You got to start somewhere, but I think getting yourself wound up to the point where you just can't function, you know what I mean? And you're not accepting that other people have different views, and you just you also become someone who's making misery. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're you know what I mean? This kind of like like the thing I was just talking about before, like calling people sheeple, or calling people Karens. That's another one that bugged me for a while. The Karen, remember the whole Karen thing? And I thought,
here's the thing, Tony. We've all been there, haven't we? We've done that.
Yeah. Of course, I've also done it.
Yes,
I've also done it. But the reason it got to me was because I saw myself doing it. I made a video, and then I read it back, and I thought, God, who the hell am I? You know what I mean? I'm some avatar of perfection or whatever, moral good or whatever, So
I know you aspire to be, as many of us do, but it doesn't always work out, does it? And that level
mostly doesn't.
The key there is that level of introspection, isn't it, and self-consciousness. Important. João Ernesto, I think that Tony here was using that comment just as a for instance, really. I don't think he's particularly attached to the particular comment that Trump is meant to have said, although you could argue there are many other examples you could have chosen potentially.
Well, there was a recording. I mean, he did say it, but it wasn't a point. Like, I'm not making a point about whether I think Trump. I didn't understand what was Joe's point. Was he saying that wasn't true, or?
I think the point, again, you see, I'm saying what I think he said. This is what he wrote, is such BS. If you do any research, you see it was a third-hand comment that someone said they heard someone else said he said. So just stop. Understand your frustration, And still, I would say, John.
Apart from it being beside the point, and I'm going to say this, it was actually the one I heard was actually a recording of him saying it. It wasn't any third party thing. And his defense was that it was just locker room talk. So it wasn't some third-hand thing. It was a recording, number one, and he's also admitted that he said it and brushed it off as locker room talk. But that's beside the point.
Yes,
it was just an example. It was just purely an example.
I understand both of your points there, which seem mutually exclusive. But having the sort of conversation we have, I think we can understand this. But yes, there is now proof that they have pointy hats. Rituals happen in meetings. Of course, thousands of women have disclosed for years, believed only now after the info released by men. And hopefully, I was thinking yesterday, should I just start putting on my Facebook timeline any arrests yet, and then after that, any convictions yet? This is the crazy thing. Despite all this disclosure, what justice are we seeing? Not much. The geezer, one of your Portuguese gang is here. It would have he's in our Venn diagram here where we touch each other, as it were, Tony, which is such a bad description here. Given what we're thinking, like keeping people grounded, straightforward, down to earth. This is a review of you. Any person in a position in power can abuse it. Power corrupts weak minds. It takes a very strong mind to use power selflessly. And the sort of personality that seeks the power to rule over others should not have power over others. Amen.
Well, see, there again, that's the chicken and egg thing. I mean, maybe both things happen, but there's a kind of a question built into the comment, isn't there? Do corrupt people seek power, or does power corrupt? Possibly both. A bit of both. Possibly a bit of both. I suspect there's a lot of well-meaning people with ideals become, police officers or politicians or whatever it is. But then I also suspect there's a lot of kind of, for example, everybody knows the trope about the bully who becomes the policeman, or obviously corrupt. Huh? You know it?
Somebody reminded me of the film Crash the other day, which I think is a very good exploration of that theme. This is a great comment, Patty. Thank you for this. I try to love everyone, but sometimes it's a challenge. Yes,
it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah. Well, there's a different. You know what I think, Patty. It's funny. This is someone asked me about my dogs. I know dogs are not for me because I'm such a dog lover, but they said to me, it's obvious that Foot is my favorite dog. And I said, the funny thing is I love all my dogs equally, but Foot's my boy. Do you know what I mean? And it made me think about this. There's a difference. Like love is supposed to be a more powerful emotion than liking, right?
Yes.
But what I think is that they're just different things. They're kind of different animals. So I think there's a difference between liking people and loving them. So I think you can love people that you don't like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
And you can definitely love people that you don't know, right? I mean, I think all of us on our good days when we're like everything's going fine and we're trying to be the best people that we can, and we're being really nice to people, and we're letting people in the queue at Lidl, and we're not getting annoyed when someone cuts you up. And
even the Dutch guy.
Yeah. No, do you know what I mean? And then so you're loving people that you don't even know, right? But there's so sometimes liking can be it's a different animal, isn't it? Do you know what I mean by that? You can love people you don't like.
I absolutely do. And I think what's interesting to me with that is the distinction, the edge of that, or where it gets interesting is when philosophy becomes reality. So when you think you love people because you are experiencing this great upswell of a joie de vivre, and then you get cut up, and then you get to find out if you really do or not. And that's where life really is, isn't it? Where true life is where what you think meets what is your actual reality in your world. That's, that's how it should be. Oh, look at this. I just cleaned up next door's dog mess from our garden. That was nice of me. That is one of those
that's love.
Selflessness. That's love.
That's love. That's love. But you remember,
we see you.
Jesus washed the feet of the poor, right? Do you know what I mean? I know. Sorry, I'm going to go off on this kind of tangent, but do you know what I mean? That lesson was about what is, the purest form of love. It's like you did an act like that, and then maybe you don't mind that your neighbor doesn't even know what happened. Do you know what I mean? And that's pure.
God only knows what people have had on
God
their
only
feet.
knows.
In
God
the
only knows. Well, God also got God, and obviously all of us now only know that He did that act of love. So
the sun is shining on the righteous here this morning. And what occurred to me strangely is how all the people you've passed this morning who have heard little fragments of your conversation about cabals and perhaps this, of all the injustice Bill Gates is accused of. Apparently, here's another one from Pete somewhere, which I'm trying to find, which I can't now, sadly, Pete. But he inflicted some kind of maths system on people, as not only but also Common Core maths. Something has just been mentioned. We all know one or many. It is within our power, and it starts here. And yes, massive networks everywhere as a practical solution. Want to include these. The question came up: what can you do about it so that your frustration doesn't take you over, the negativity doesn't take you over, but also we're not sticking our heads in the ground. That's the kind of sweet spot, isn't it? What can you do? In my opinion, the only thing you can affect change at 100% is yourself. You can't change others or make them do anything they don't want. So do the thing you can, change yourself, be an example. I think there's a lot of truth in that, Matty. I accept that, Matty, but would say there's a mixture of both. Temptation comes with power, whether greed or predation. I think you're responding to a different point there, but it's good to hear that. Thank you, Coach. We can address and change paedophiles in our own communities with our neighbours and friends. We all, and forgive me, it might mean the end of Good Morning Portugal, but I refuse to use these euphemisms just for the sake of bloody Google and YouTube or whatever, makes people say. I think it's part of the problem where people can't use a word in the, you're allowed to use it in an inappropriate way, but not in an appropriate way for fear of shadow banning. But I'll see what happens with that. We all know one or many. It is within our power. It starts there. And yes, massive networks everywhere. Thank you very much for that. An old guy I work with said there are two types of kids who grow up and want to become police officers: the neighborhood bully and the kid who always got beat up. The latter is the one to worry about. Wow. Pretty sure that Alicia wouldn't want to fix my road if it wasn't for financial motivation, nor would you field. I'm not sure what you mean there, Pete, with that. As a coach, I'm very aware of the predatory nature of some people. I have a responsibility for all of the young people that are training, not just those that I coach. I have reported behavior before. Well done, Coach. Completely different issue you're referring to, not paid services. I was referring to. Oh, okay. This is the that was a classic libertarian argument, isn't it? Who's gonna build the hospitals and roads? I think if we all take 100% responsibility.
Small government, not no government, is what I always say to those people.
Tony. Thank you, Tony. From Roy, Mando, and Grogu are coming back in May 26th. What is that? Regardless of what goes on in the wider galaxy, are these superheroes who are coming to save us? Oh, thank goodness for that. Good news. Remember where you heard it first. For all this talk about bad people, the vast majority are good in my experience. Yes. Let's remember that as well. May the force be with you. It is always, be it in straight or twisted ways. Thank you for that, Obi-Wan, as well this morning. Well done, Math. Totally agree. Megalomaniacs are a very small fraction of society. We just need to stop electing them. Yes, that would help, would it not? Unlimited power is what does the corrupting. Those in power need their time in power to be limited and short. Thanks, John. When the same can be re-elected time and time again and be in power for decades or more. Very interesting. It does happen. We see that. I'm still surfing life every day.
Macron.
Well, and what a guy comes to mind is one of the councillors around Lisbon. People love him, and they had to create a law. They had to create a law for him to stop him getting voted in again, and he changed party so that he could get voted. There are exceptions to every rule. Clearly, after all these centuries of these crimes stop being denied, we can just say stop talking about it, and there's nothing we can do. Yeah, and we finally have an opportunity to take action en masse. Let's keep that flame burning. Let's see what we can do with the balance that has been talked about this morning, folks. Good to have this conversation with you, and Tony. Good morning. Late on parade says Hugh. You'd have loved it this morning, Hugh. That's what makes life interesting. Rui from Pete, by the end of today, my road will be as smooth as a baby's bum. We'll see about that. Bon dia, everyone.
Hopefully it won't.
Well, I'm actually quite glad we couldn't hear what you said there, I suspect. Bon dia, everyone. Late check-in. Hope everyone is doing. We've had an amazing conversation this morning, Mike. Agree with you regarding the police officers in Portugal. There's an additional type, unemployed kids desperate for a stable job and income. Yeah. Oh dear. Recruiting from the best. It would appear the world over. Tony, thank you so much. Great to catch up with you. I knew it would be a good conversation, as it always is.
There we go. Just a quick look at that blue sky.
That's a lovely note to end on, is it not? Yeah.
Enjoy everybody.
Yeah. All right. All the best. Cheers, Tony. Have a good day, everyone. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao. We're off. Okay.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need